everyone, welcome back. This is week 2 of Delight Goes Digital, but this week we are going to be in week 5 of our devotional where we're reading through the book of John. But don't worry if you don't have it, whether you're tuning in from IGTV, on our Instagram, or on YouTube, or you're just checking it out. You don't have to have the devotional. We're going to go through it together today, but I just encourage you to go ahead and pull it out if you have it, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, this week we are in week 5 of the devotional, which starts on page 83, and this week is all about when you're waiting on God. And can I just say that literally, I think all of us are waiting right now to get out of our house, get done with this quarantine. We're over it. We're coming up on almost week 2 of it. I mean, I'm done with it too. But I think this is just a really salient time for us to be diving into this. So we're going to go ahead and go through. We're going through the book of John. We are in chapter 10 through 12 this week. And this week we're really looking at the story of Lazarus. So I'm sure a lot of us have read the story. It's one of the most popular miracles that we see in Jesus' time is this story. But if not, we're going to go ahead and read through it. So basically, one of Jesus's best friends, Mary and Martha, they are super close to Jesus. They have been following him for a very long time. Their brother Lazarus is sick, and they come to Jesus and they say, Jesus, we need you. We need you to heal Lazarus. And they believed that he could. You know, they were firm believers in Jesus. You know, they were like, he is going to heal our brother. And so they go to him and they say, our brother is sick. And Jesus says, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory so that God's Son may be glorified through it. And Mary and Martha were probably like, okay, that's awesome. You know, he's not going to die. Like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for healing him. So then the next sentence, John 11:7 says, so when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. So Jesus says, you know, Lazarus, he's not going to die. I'm going to heal him. But he doesn't go to Lazarus. He doesn't go straight to Lazarus and heal him. He stays where he is for another 2 days. And Mary and Martha are probably like, okay, come on, hurry up. Lazarus is sick. Like, let's go. We got to heal him. But Jesus, you know, he's never in a hurry. He takes his time and he just waits 2 days and he stays where he is. And, you know, this is mind-blowing to us because we're like, why wouldn't he go heal Lazarus right away? He says that he will heal him, so why does he not go heal him? But the thing is, later in the story, we find out that during this time, Jesus was spending time with his disciples praying. And he was spending time talking to his Father about what was going on and telling him that, you know, what was going on with Lazarus and telling his Father to heal Lazarus. And, you know, all this time, Mary and Martha are saying, you know, where are you, Jesus? Where are you? But Jesus was talking to his Father and praying to him about what was going on. So then when we go back to Lazarus, we see that he does die from the disease. He's dead. They bury him in a tomb. Mary and Martha go through the cycles of grief. It's been 4 days at the point that the story picks back up where Jesus does show up. Jesus shows up when Lazarus has been dead for 4 days. And Mary and Martha are like, where have you been? Our brother died. However, Jesus was not afraid. Jesus wasn't like, oh my gosh, I missed it. Oh no, what do I do? Jesus looked up to his Father and said, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me. So Jesus spent all this time praying, talking to his Father, and Lazarus died. But Jesus knew that that wasn't final. Jesus knew that his Father would hear his prayers and that his Father would answer him. And he didn't say it because he didn't believe that his Father would answer his prayers. He said it so that his Father would be exalted and glorified through what had happened to Lazarus. And at the very end of the story, we see Jesus say, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus comes out of the tomb after being dead for 4 days. And it wasn't because Jesus ran to him and healed him. It was because Jesus had been talking to his Father and praying and spending time waiting. He knew that he didn't have to rush. And honestly, this is such a testimony that God's timing is never rushed. We don't have to be, you know, running here and running there. Even in the hard times of waiting, we can spend time talking to our Father. Actually, in my quiet time this morning, this reminds me of a verse that I just read. It's Isaiah 33, verse 2. It says, "O Lord, be gracious to us. We wait for you. Be our arm every morning, our salvation in the time of trouble." And that's so beautiful because, it's saying, God, like, we are waiting for you. We want to wait to see your arm move before we move. And that's what Jesus did. He waited to see his Father's hand at work, healing Lazarus, and then he went. He didn't go before he knew the Father had gone. He waited for the Father to go and then went after him. And it says, you are our salvation in the time of trouble. And we are in a time of trouble right now in our country, in our campus, everywhere. We just need to remember that he is our salvation in our time of trouble. And this isn't something that I feel like I'm just preaching out of the devotional or talking about out of the Bible. This is something that I've seen in my life firsthand and I'm still living through. So basically in my life, I have had this constant cycle and it revolved around dating. I spent all of my high school years dating and chasing after this relationship that I thought God wanted for me. And I said, God, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for that perfect guy that you're going to put in my life. I don't want to wait for that man of God that you're going to put in my life. And I spent time chasing guys that were not worth my time. I spent time chasing guys who just were not good for me, who were not God honoring in our relationship. And that was for multiple years that I just spent time chasing after these things that I knew weren't good for me just because I didn't want to wait. My senior year of high school, I was in a relationship that, I knew wasn't good for me. I knew it wasn't the relationship God wanted for me. And he ended up being abusive and it really tore me apart. And I knew God was saying, like, just wait. Like, he was pleading with me. He wanted a good relationship for me. It broke his heart that I was in a situation like this, and he was just pleading with me to wait for the man that he was going to place in my life. And I didn't listen, and I just kept, pursuing this relationship. And after almost 8 months in this relationship, I had a come to Jesus moment, and I realized that this is not what God wanted for me. And I had to step out of this relationship, no matter how hard it was. And when that happened, I lost a lot of friends. I was a senior in high school, about to go to college. I had a lot of change coming, and I felt really alone. And it felt like, God, I did what you wanted. I broke up with him, and now I'm still waiting. Like, where is this guy? Where is this guy? And so, a whole nother year goes by of just waiting, and I'm trying. I keep finding, a cute guy at church, and I'm like, oh, is this the one, God? And he says no. And then I find another guy, and I'm like, oh, he could be the one. He's a man of God. And then God's like, no, he's not the one. I want you to wait. And so after my freshman year, I went on a internship to Costa Rica with some missionaries that I had traveled with before. And I was there for 2 months, and it was really amazing. But while I was there, I started talking to a guy. His name is Matt. He is the missionary's son that I was interning with. And after, we talked about it, we prayed about it for a really long time, which was huge. I mean, I had been waiting for this man of God for so long, and I didn't even realize that he was right in front of me the whole time, and that God had set that in motion for me, years ago when I had met him on a mission trip with my high school. And it was just such a testimony of waiting, that God was going to put the right guy in my life, and he did. And the funny part is the waiting isn't over, because now he lives in Costa Rica, and I'm obviously here in Ohio. So it's just really funny that I waited all this time for, that man who was going to be the man of God for me, and now there's still waiting that has to be done before we can even be together physically. So it's just, it's something I'm still in the middle of, and I think that's so cool that, I'm able to talk about something like this and still be in the middle of it and still be figuring it out myself. And I just want to encourage you guys that no matter what you're waiting for, whether it is a guy, whether it's friendship, whether it's waiting to get into your dream career, waiting to start a family, waiting to, dive deeper in your relationship with God, whatever it is, I just want to encourage you that, God's timing is going to be right, and waiting on God's timing is so worth it. And I just want to stress that, like, whatever God is doing, it's going to be in his timing, and just like, trust him and trust in his timing. He has your like best will at heart, and he just wants the best for you. And I've seen that through and through in my life, and I just want that for you guys. So in a couple minutes, you guys are gonna go ahead and break off with your small groups. Hopefully they have already been given to you, and you're gonna do a Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever, and really dive deep into, you know, what this looks like for you. And we're gonna kind of go over a couple conversation starters just in case you don't have them in front of you. The first one is the same as always. What did you learn about Jesus's character in John 10 through 12? It can be something new that you realized or something you were reminded of. The second one has to do with the story of Lazarus. So it says, when you're in a season of waiting, how do you typically respond when things don't go the way you want them to? Are you more like Martha? You run to Jesus but hold quiet bitterness in your heart. Or are you more like Mary? You hold Jesus at arm's length and avoid him because of your disappointment. So the third one is, identify something in your life that you're currently frustrated about having to wait on. And then the last one is, how did this week's scripture encourage you to change your posture towards seasons of waiting in your life? What do you want to do differently in the future? And I just want to encourage you guys to be really vulnerable. This is a space where we encourage vulnerability, and we are going to be here for you no matter what. We want to know what you're struggling with, and we want to go through it with you. So I encourage you guys to just be really open with these questions, and yeah, have fun in your small groups.